Hello, hello. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Long Rest, our Creatures and Corridors podcast. So good to be back. It's been a few weeks, but now that we've wrapped on our little mini campaign, our Theros Beyond Death 3-shot, we're back to our regularly scheduled podcasting. So, hello, welcome. And if this is your first time joining us, we are basically a group of friends playing D&D, and we put it up online for you guys to enjoy and come on these adventures with us. We have a long-running Star Wars series, and it's Star Wars 5e, which is kind of a adaptation of D&D 5e, but in the Star Wars universe. So we've got many episodes of that. If you're interested, you should check it out on our YouTube channel. And while you're over there, don't forget to throw us a like and subscribe. You know the whole deal. And if this is your first time with us on Twitch, don't forget to hit that follow button as well. So today we've got some pretty exciting news. We are speaking of Theros. There was a reason we did this little mini one-shot, 3-shot thing. We are actually going to be returning to our Theros campaign. We did about 25-ish sessions before we were streaming our Star Wars campaign. This was our primary campaign that we all played together, and there was a lot of call to return to it. Several of the players really liked their characters and really liked the world as a whole. And so back by popular demand, gotta give the people what they want. Am I right?
Yep. I cannot. No argument here. No argument here.
So we're going to be discussing, talking, kind of giving people a recap and just kind of the gist of what's already happened, what you missed so far. If you want a more in-depth description or recounting, let us know in the comments, and maybe we can have a really step-by-step, session-by-session retelling of that, if that's what you guys are interested in. So yeah, I guess let's go ahead and jump right into it. Kyle, will you please tell me about the character that you played? Well, you can obviously tell us about your Theros Beyond Death character, but go ahead and tell us a little bit about the character you were playing in the original setting.
In the original setting of Theros, we had a few racial options that are like prone to Theros. There's like centaurs, Leonin, satyrs, humans, and tritons, maybe a couple others I can't remember off the top of my head. But I created an exception because I was going for this really, it's actually super common, but at the time I didn't realize it. Super common, that Storm Cleric, or Tempest Cleric, Storm Sorcerer combination multi-class, which is very difficult to do with point buy. You spread yourself very thin. But in order to really make that work, I chose to, I asked Russ if I could be like an Aasimar, and we worked out kind of a lore reasons, and no surprise to anyone, since this is a Greek theme, my character is a demigod, the son of one of the gods, Keranos. And so he's an Aasimar Storm Cleric, Tempest Cleric Storm Sorcerer, and basically it's really cool. His name is Darius Stormchild. In his hometown on the ocean around his own town, he's known as the Leviathan, and he had a friend / brother that he grew up with who was called the Kraken, and they were this on the seas duo that kind of protected their home city and dealt with either pirates or Triton attacks and stuff like that, or both. And so that's kind of his shtick. He's very he's not exactly Thor-esque, but he's kind of Thor-esque. It wasn't really intentional, but he's he's got the heavy plate mail, and he's got the hammer, and he's got the lightning, he's got the Shazam, and he definitely tends to be more this lawful good archetype. And his mother is worshipped with Thassa, he's worshipped for Keranos, and it's a whole very water and brain because when we opened Theros, we were like seafaring campaign, so all of us came with like these like seafaring themed characters in some form or fashion. And his was kind of the deities he worshipped, and it was super. And it was super cool. He did a lot of explosions, but he also has like the super low HP because it has to balance out the high. I needed wisdom and I needed the high wisdom and charisma in order to actually multi-class, but I needed the strength to wear the plate in my armor to protect me as well because I'm hitting people with weapons and it was a whole thing. So I'm super fragile, but I have the highest AC.
Fireball that does lightning damage. Okay, that's all you had to say.
Oh yeah, I took a sorcerer meta magic that allows you to change elemental damage, and so I'm just like fireball. And then I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna change that, and I can change it to anything really. I can change it to thunder or lightning damage, which thus triggers my storm, my tempest cleric, channel divinity, so I can max out the damage die, dealing just like a solid 48 hard damage to pretty much whoever I want. And he got the air elemental shard from a cloud giant after, I guess, saving this cloud giants. He got an air elemental shard, which means whenever he's meta magic feet, I get to fly 60 feet. And so he's just like dashing across the so he's just, it's absolutely correct. And him and Alcaeus, another character, have a kill count thing going on, which I am winning because I have AoEs and he does not.
I hope you're listening, Jama. He's gonna come for you in the comment.
Come at me, bro.
So yeah, if you've, like I said, if you've watched the Beyond Death setting or the Beyond Death mini adventure, then you'll know kind of vaguely the Theros, like he was saying, it's very much like a Greek setting. It is a first party Wizards of the Coast MTG setting, and I gotta say, it's just probably one of the coolest planes. I mean, there's so many cool planes in Magic, but it's really one of the more like, it works really well as a D&D setting. It just seems to kind of cover all the bases that you want in a good D&D setting. So yeah, we have a group of these different champions. They didn't necessarily know they were champions at the time, but they all served a different deity of Theros, different god, and they all were kind of picked by their chosen deities to fight in their holy war. There seems to be a big kerfuffle happening. The battle lines have been drawn in the Pantheon, and there's very much sides. Mogis, which is the god of slaughter, and the Rakdos red-black god of the setting, pretty much declared war on his brother, Erois, which is the Boros red-white god of that setting. And yeah, it's really kind of split the whole world down the middle, and it's there are good guys and bad guys, and we're following the story of the people trying to be on the right side of history. And yeah, so speaking of Erois, Darius, Kyle's character, his best friend and partner in crime, Alcaeus, is a Triton paladin, and he is just one of the most iconic characters I've ever had the pleasure of DMing for. We reference him constantly and joke about it. I'm sure we've mentioned him at least once in Star Wars, in the Star Wars campaign. But anyways, he is just full send, has no regrets, no scruples. He just fucking is like, I am on a mission, and you will not stand in that way of that mission. So that's the character Jama plays, and he's great. I love every time he embodies that character. He just really knows how to just bring out the iconicness of it.
Yeah, Darius's whole like shtick with Alcaeus is basically like he's Alcaeus's like brain, and or like his direction. He's like, all right, let's focus your energy over here, over here, over here. Like, let's not waste our time. Let's not fight the 10 Spartans right now, and let's just leave. Okay, the Spartans aren't going anywhere. We have you know, a mission by the gods to focus on right now. Let's start there, and then let's deal with the Spartans next.
For anyone who has watched Star Wars, it is a somewhat similar dynamic between Vrain and Boldgrave. Not exactly the same because you know, different characters, but kind of in the same vein. Obviously played by the same people, so
yeah, that dynamic is kind of similar, though Darius is much different than Vrain. But that, like, I don't know, don't want to call it the leash, but the brain, the direction, providing a little bit of direction.
Lots of sexual tension.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And then we've also got so there was a bit of a couple changes of cast throughout. So we have a friend, Jesse, who hasn't actually been on the stream yet, but will be returning, will be joining us. And so he was playing a wizard. Well, initially he was playing a monk, sorry. So he started off as playing this monk, and sometimes, you know, a class you just don't click with it. He just really wasn't feeling it. He just wasn't vibing with it. And he came to me and he was like, you know, can I change characters? And I said, of course, yeah. So we got together and we figured out a new character and a convenient plot way for them to do the old switcheroo. So he actually is now playing a wizard who is a fledgling planeswalker, has not really awakened his spark yet, but has been under the tutelage of I don't know if I've revealed it exactly, but
I don't know if you have or not.
Maybe we'll keep that one. We'll leave some things unsaid, but he's been under the purview of a pretty famous planeswalker in the Magic universe, shall we just say, and comes from a pretty another famous plane. So maybe we'll get into that a little bit more as the series goes on. So yeah, anyways, he's playing a Chronomancer wizard from I believe that was the
Wildemount, I think.
Yeah, Wildemount, the first Critical Role book. So it's kind of not quite the same as Dunamancy. Obviously, we're in a completely different setting, but Chronomancy, very time manipulation, has some very powerful abilities, especially the reaction that he can take. Very, very cool.
I'm curious how it's going to interact with Osialis, because Osialis is like clockwork magic.
He is.
And then the Chrono Wizard uses time in essence. So their magics are different yet similar, and I think it's going to be fun watching that off. Jesse's character was famous for his rerolls. He has that reaction that's just like, you reroll, you reroll, you reroll, and all these saving throws that we start making all of a sudden are just super clutch. Like, no doubt one of the most clutch mechanics or features of the game.
And I guess before we continue talking about the rest of the characters, I guess it's probably worth mentioning one thing that's very different about this campaign, and probably has a lot to do with why it feels so like starkly different than our other ones. We're using the heroic resting system, and for those of you who haven't heard of that, instead of the normal D&D hour short rest, 8-hour or overnight long rest, it's 5 minutes for short rest and an hour for a long rest. So that is, if you're playing a wizard,
stupid.
If you're a 5th level wizard, that is like 10 fireballs a day, man. Like ridiculous amounts of magic. So really benefits those long rest type characters with the ability to just spam your stuff that you want to do. But it's cool
all
because
your spells, all your features, all your abilities. Me getting my sorcery points back after an hour of rest is just like, it's just all Nova all the time.
Yep. But the thing that's really cool for me is I can just crank the dial as hard as I want on the difficulty, and I never really have to sweat it. I can throw obscenely strong things at them. I mean, they were like, God, I'm trying to remember. Y'all fought. You guys have been fighting things easily double your CR most of the campaign. Like, just
I believe it.
disgusting. So sometimes there have been one or two moments where I'm like, maybe I went a little too far. But for the most part, it really.
We all survived. I mean,
yeah, you're still here.
Well,
But it's cool because
Chaos falls unconscious. We heal him, and we
it goes down, it goes up, it goes down, it goes up. You know the meme. Yeah. But yeah, so it's just been it really, really feels like that, out of the frying pan into the fire. They never really get a moment to. I mean, they're the moments of true like rest and calm are few and far between. Usually that hour is all they get to before the action ramps right back up. So it's going to be, if you tune in for this, it is going to be a very balls to the wall campaign. It is never a dull moment.
I know. Looking forward to it.
We're all very excited to be returning. So I guess we can continue talking about some of the other characters. So those are going to be the 3 returning characters. Now there were some other. So Anthony, who played Kirikos in the Beyond Death adventure, he was playing a different character, but he's going to be switching to this new character that he's been playing for a multitude of reasons. You know, like we said with Jesse earlier, sometimes you just don't really click with the character, and there were some things that were cool about it. He was playing technically he was playing like a water genasi, but he was like a naiad, which is like a water version of a dryad. I thought that was a really cool way to like.
Oh yeah, that was a dope like theme, because you fully expect the dryads and the naiads to exist in this Greek fantasy world, and to just like bring that out narratively made a lot of sense.
Yeah, it fit the flavor of the setting super well. And he was kind of like, dryads typically protect a section of nature. And so he was responsible for this river, the Data River, and his name was Data Medes. So he was like a physical manifestation of this river that he protected. Which is really cool, but it also kind of is a little bit tricky, because he's like, here I am gallivanting around the world on this adventure, and I'm neglecting my duties to this river that I'm supposed to be protecting. So definitely kind of had a little bit of tension, internal tension as far as that goes. But we did during the campaign, we did kind of pass through that area at one point and get to meet with some of. He had a relationship with the local centaur tribe. There was a band of centaurs that would kind of exist around. They're nomadic, but they would kind of exist around that area of the river, up and down that section. Oh, he's in the chat. He says, I did enjoy Data, but I really liked Kirikos and Spyro, so I want to see how it goes instead. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just gotta switch it up, and I was completely fine with either direction. If you wanted to go back to Data, that's fine, and if he wants to stick with this, I found a way to make it all work. Let's see who's left. Connor wasn't playing with us.
No, I think nope. I don't think there are any other returning characters. All we have is the Theros Beyond characters who will be added presumably to the original group. Yep. And we get to see how they interact, because the core groups, the main group, which I guess is just 3 of us now, we're kind of stacked. We've got some pretty dope magic items, gifts from the gods, all of that stuff. So it's definitely going to be, not to mention the Theros Beyond crew didn't play Heroic Resting. So, I mean, Anthony did, but the other players didn't. None of the characters did, all the players did. So I think there's going to be a cool transition as the characters kind of come back alive to embrace a new destiny, kind of, in a sense. So that's exciting to see. I think watching the the parties like mesh in the beginning is going to be interesting, because I feel like there's gonna have to, because you're gonna have two splits in the party, but obviously there's gonna be presumably some similar goal. The gods are going to like be like, hey, this is fated. You have to work together for the greater good of the Nyx and Theros. So
I got some fun stuff cooked up. It's gonna be a fun scene. The first session I've got a lot of notes already written, so it's gonna be a good time. And then speaking of the other crew, Sammy, who you know from Star Wars as Karo, he scheduling is a little bit difficult for him, so he may be kind of popping in and out, but we got together and we came up with a really cool way for him to kind of be able to step in and out as needed with the party. If anyone's seen Critical Role, which is probably anyone who's watching this has definitely seen Critical Role. But yeah, kind of like how Ashley Johnson, she's got a lot of responsibilities and lives in a different state, I think, and so
campaign 3 is the first time she's been able to start in the campaign and actually not have to go back to New York. So she's finally full time in effect, and it's completely off topic, but it's so nice being able to see Ashley Johnson just finally like relax. And I feel like she's had like 2 campaigns of bottled up chaotic energies that she's just letting loose this campaign, and it's been super pleasurable seeing it unfold.
Well, if you haven't seen Critical Role, you've probably seen Legends of Vox Machina, which, if you don't have time to watch hundreds of hours of Critical Role, which I certainly don't, I highly recommend that campaign, the animated series. It's Amazon, I think.
Amazon Prime.
Prime. So good. The animation quality is unbelievable. I'm still trying to get through season 2. I haven't quite finished it yet. But...
What's it called? I think it's the same animation studio as was it Avatar that it was the same animation studio as, or was it Young Justice? I think it might have been I can't remember. It might have been Young Justice.
Just judging based off art style, I want to say Young Justice. I don't know for
sure. I think it was Young Justice, but which is a good sign. But yeah, it's super enjoyable. Though I'm pretty sure whoever you are has probably watched it, or at least seen clips about it or heard about it. If you ended up here, I'm sure you've gone down that rabbit.
Kyle, this is the internet. We can make no assumptions. There's always going to be someone to refute what we say.
Yeah, somebody's going to be like, "What's Critical Role?" And it's like,
oh God. But hey, if you found us before Critical Role, good. Don't watch it. Watch us instead. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. They're great. They're amazing. They have done more for the D&D fandom than the people that fucking invented the game, almost. Crazy, but
probably true.
Well, I guess that segue. So we want to keep talking about Theros, or we want to move on to something else?
Well, I think we should just do a short, like a pre-campaign recap to really just just to kind of catch whatever strangers up with where we are in the campaign.
Yeah, so like I said, we've had 15 at least sessions. I can't read fucking Greek lettering. 14 sessions. Okay.
Well, it's Roman numerals, so that's probably why you're confused.
That's the one.
But I thought it was Greek.
So a full year of campaign, and but thankfully I wrote out I titled the chapters. This is again before we were streaming, so we didn't have like episode titles. But I did have the foresight to at least like name the name of the sessions. So it all started with arrival at Akros. So Akros is kind of the. Well, do you want to tell us, Kyle? I feel like I'm talking a lot. Tell us about Akros.
Man, it's been a long time since I've been to Akros, but Akros is the like Spartan capital of Theros, if I recall correctly. They all worship the god Eros for the most part, because Eros is the god of victory, and so a lot of them worship Eros, and it's a very like military Spartan front. Everyone's super strong, and if you're like a good like lawful good fighter, that's kind of like your go-to place. Their queen, though, I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but I know it's in my notes. I saw it last night. The queen, though, was a worshiper of Kyranos, which I thought was an interesting tidbit, especially because it drew more ironic parallels between me and Alcaeus, who Alcaeus worships Eros, and I worship Kyranos. Super weird coincidence. One would say it's fate. What's it called? And so I know when we got there, there was like some event for their king, and
they were having like the Olympic Games essentially. So you guys showed up just at the on the first day of this. They were getting ready to basically start the Olympic Games, and the first session was like the opening ceremony. So they were dedicating it to their god, and they're having a whole big they're gonna have the whole procession, and the king comes in, and the whole how do you do about it?
And then the king dies, and everything falls apart.
Yeah, whoops! He took a bit of an axe to the back, and a mysterious, shadowy figure slinging some dark magic and had a big axe came in to ruin everyone's time, and that was kind of what kicked off this whole adventure.
Yep. Turns out Alcaeus has history with that figure, though I don't think we know everything about that history. And during that fight, my priority was getting the queen, who was of course a worshiper of Kyranos, out of there alive. And he was a big, powerful dude. So I'm looking forward to fighting him again, because I'm pretty sure we're going to decimate his whole career.
And it turns out it was a good thing you saved that queen, because there was a bit of a play for power, and it was revealed that the higher ups, the nobles, I guess, of Akros were maybe in on that assassination, or they didn't necessarily help, but they didn't stand in the way. They maybe knew about it and kind of let it happen, because they were a bit of a coup for power. So the queen and her royal family were ostracized, and so definitely some very sus things that happened. But
Alcaeus and I both wanted to rush back as soon as we heard that, but we were like, we had to stay focused on their main mission. But it's so tempting to go. The second we retrieve the MacGuffin, for sure we're about to go tear Akros up from the ground up.
So speaking of the MacGuffin, I think we're probably in session 2 by now. Come to find out, so this queen, met with you guys and acted as a vessel for the gods, allowing them to speak through her. And she lets you guys know, or Erois did, that his godly relic. So in another big theme of this setting is that the gods have a weapon or piece of armor, or it varies based on the god, but each of them have a signature item that is a physical tie to their power. And so Erois has a shield called the Bulwark of Brotherhood that was stolen from him, stolen from Akros. That's where it was being kept, stolen by someone, and they were taking it to Mount Valus, which is kind of like Mount Olympus. They were taking it to chuck it in the lava, as you do with all magic items that you want to get rid of.
Oh, what else would you do with it?
It's a pretty surefire way to get rid of a magic item. So that was kind of the impetus for their quest, was retrieve the Bulwark of Brotherhood, stop this usurper and whatever his schemes were, and so they set off and got on a little boat, started headed, or actually no, you guys had to walk because it was upriver.
I think so.
So you guys headed up to Mount Valus, and I don't think anything too crazy happened along the way. I think maybe you found a few smaller magic items or something.
Yeah, I think there's just maybe some skirmishes or something along the way. Nothing I don't think major.
Just some annoying traveling encounters.
Yep. I remember a baby Hydra or something like that. I don't know if that was on the way there or on the way back.
I think that's on the way back. So yeah, you make it up. You make it up the mountain to the Forge of the Gods, which is the Forge of the Volcano God, specifically Perforos, who is kind of their the Hephaestus of the Theros setting, and Mono Red, and yeah, that's where things started getting really interesting, as if things weren't already crazy. So tell me what happened in the volcano temple.
Okay, so Alcaeus did Alcaeus things, which started the ongoing habit of challenging people who slight him even in the smallest way to a 1v1 trial by combat. 1v1 challenge, the whole 9 yards.
Duel to the death first, ask questions later.
Exactly. And so he challenged like the high priest of Perforos to like a one-on-one duel. They fought to the death. Priest ended up in the lava, and then at some point another character was like looking for stuff, and I can't remember exactly where, but I think he discovered the giant dragon turtle. Or the dragon turtle come from the lava. I can't remember what the trigger for the dragon turtle was.
So the dragon turtle was under the lava. They were keeping it there. It was kind of trapped, basically.
So I think
this massive. For anyone who doesn't know what a dragon turtle is, imagine a turtle, but the size of like a blimp. This enormous turtle, just ancient, hundreds of years old, and it was it was a magical creature, obviously. So it had a supernaturally hard or supernaturally resistant shell. So they had it under the lava of this volcano, and it was like kind of like a forge. It was a temple to Perforos. So they would smith weapons and things like that for the people of Akros. And yeah, they had this turtle down there that was turns out was actually a what's the word? Not emissary. It was related to Thassa, basically. I can't think of the word. I'll remember, but
emissary, avatar.
Maybe it was emissary. It was one of the cycles from that set. There was like it was like not a familiar, but like it was usually like an animal of some kind that was related to, I think, the 5 monocolored gods.
Can't remember.
But... I don't remember. Anyways, long story short, it was she was directly linked to that dragon turtle. Sorry, he was directly linked to Thassa, which is the kind of Poseidon type character, which is she's a merfolk, basically. Anyways, so challenge, duel to the death. Alcaeus kicks their champion into the lava, and they ride that dragon turtle. The volcano erupts, and Perforos is prone to having a pretty short temper and exploding violently. So he was not happy about all that going down. So the volcano explodes, but they managed to ride the dragon turtle down the volcano lava. And that's like picturing that, like, fucking it's just one of the like craziest things that happened in that campaign. I don't know. I just thought that was so cool. And yeah, they got a new friend, and also he was kind of a boat for a little while.
He definitely voted for us for a while. And at some point, I think along that boat is when we switched out Jesse's characters.
That was when we met the Hydra.
Yeah, there's a fight there. The Hydra fight was kind of fun, interesting. Or I think it wasn't just a Hydra fight. There was like a Hydra fight on the inside. But
you didn't fight the Hydra.
Oh yeah, the Hydra was like, "Hey, go kill this person for me," and we were like, "I guess."
There's this chimera that's bothering me. Can you do something about it? And
we were just like, "Yeah, sure."
And so yeah, the chimera was like a construct. It was a bronze, like it was a construct. Yeah, like I said, it was a construct that was created by Perforos, and yeah, the Hydra was not thrilled that it was, like, it was up in his hunting grounds, basically, causing him problems.
Yep. Then over the course of time, we got Jesse's character switched. We ended up back near Akros for a little bit, I think. I can't remember why. I think that's where we got some more information. We ended up back at the Akros port because Akros was kind of like downstream to where we were going.
Yeah, the river cut through and connected.
And then eventually we ended up at Data Meaty's little, I guess, like centaur friends. And
yeah. So that was after traveling down the river. And we'll get a picture of them. You'll get to see the map. We'll definitely hold on that whenever we start this campaign, so everybody can get a good look at it. But as they were trying to make their way down, so one of the things, whenever they found the dragon turtle, whose name is completely escaping me right now.
Aegis.
Aegeus.
There.
Aegeus. Yes. So Aegeus. Being an emissary of Thassa, that was the whole reason I brought that up. Basically, was like, you guys have been tricked. The Bulwark Brotherhood is nowhere near here. In fact, they're actually headed the opposite direction. It was all just a misdirect. So now you have to go to the Dakra Isles, which is basically this chain of islands, archipelago, out in the middle of the ocean. And they're notorious for being magical and weird and impossible to traverse unless you're awesome,
Lucky.
like a hero of the
they're
gods.
They're like always shifting and moving around. It's never, so it makes people can get lost in there for a very long time. It's very hard. It's like worse than One Piece.
Worse than One Piece. Yeah, very much. Definitely see the connection there. So yeah, so anyways, so that's why they were traveling back down the river and so now they're headed to the ocean. They're trying to get that through that way. So we stop off to see the Lagona Band Centaurs. They've got this conflict. There's another band of centaurs, the Fears Band Centaurs. So they've got this whole rivalry thing going, and players show up, kick some ass, and finally get a chance to take a little bit of a breather, hanging out with them for a little while. And at which point, the elder of this band of centaurs, goes to Data Meaties and says, "I think you're ready for your trial." So he was a champion of Nylea, the kind of Artemis type character of this setting, and it's like, yeah, come do this trial. And so he had to do he had to face a big cat, a celestial saber-toothed tiger, essentially, in one-on-one combat, which he was playing a druid, and I'd let him do kind of like a homebrew subclass for it. He was doing what we called the Circle of Monstrosities. So it was kind of similar to like a Circle of the Moon druid that could shapeshift, except he was able to turn into various monstrosities. And we had a running joke. One of his forms that he would default to quite a lot was a cockatrice. And so we started calling him Birdamedes for a while. Remember that being a meme. What was I going to say?
He defeated the cat-like.
The lynx,
creature.
yeah. Oh yeah. So there was something spooky happening with the forest because the volcano erupted. There was like this ash that was falling down. It was killing the trees. It was causing a whole ecological disturbance. And they were like, the only way we're gonna make this right is we need Nylea's help. She's the god of the forest, so we need to make things right with her. So he goes on this little mini trial. Everyone else is cheering him on. You guys fought a big shambling mound, which is such a fun fight.
Yeah. I remember that.
Very fun creature. I
I don't think anybody had fire.
Nobody had fire. Alcaeus almost suffocated. It was a good time.
Yep.
Running theme of the campaign, Alcaeus almost dying. Pretty much like every fight. But yeah, so he succeeded and got this bow, which was actually Nylea's god weapon, and it had kind of a it was kind of a bit like the vestiges of, what are they called in
Divergence.
Where they kind of like unlock over time. They start off with limited function, and as the characters progress. However, because this setting they introduced a mechanic called piety, which is kind of a renown system, but specifically tied to whatever god your character worships. And so you would gain piety by doing acts that were favorable to your god. You would get some cool little extra magical features, but then the god weapons, I also tied their abilities to the piety. So as your piety would increase, so would your capability with this weapon. So we got a hold of that. And let's see, where did we go after
that was the first god weapon that we received. After that, I think it was we hit the ocean again.
You run into the ocean giant first.
Right. Yep. So there was the ocean, or the ocean, or sea, river giant. There's
river
storm giant. I can't.
It was
something.
River giant, I think we officially called it.
Yeah, there was the river giant, and he was like, we didn't fight. I don't think we fought him.
You were about to, or I think you fought for a little bit, and then he was like, "Hold on, time out."
Yeah. And he was like, "Yo, my sister's is in trouble, or is going crazy, or something like that." And then we went to save the sister, which was a cloud giant. And after a little bit of Dutch fighting and gimmickiness,
almost killing my entire party by casting a 6th level spell at them when they were like level 5.
I think we were like level 3, 2, or they had 3 or 4.
No, not high enough level for sure.
What's it called? It was fine because it's heroic resting, so we can't ever die. And then we successfully pacified her. That's where I got an air elemental shard, which allows me to fly 60 feet without provoking attacks of opportunities whenever I use my magic, which means I am fast. And
this is fun.
So it's so good. And then after that, there was the dock city. I can't remember the name of the dock city off the top of my head. I know there were some adventures in the small city there.
Yeah, because we hadn't had really a chance to do any like shopping or anything, so that was kind of our like shopping episode. I don't remember the name of the town either. I know I had kind of like loosely based it around Bilgewater, but it was named something else. So yeah, very much like a kind of Reaver's Row like trade, and there was a lot of like they're hunting big creatures, whales and the like. But it was very much like a hub for. Gosh, I'm gonna have to look that up.
I ran into some trouble with Acros, some Acroans who were on the lookout for us specifically, if I recall correctly. I distracted them, ran away, did the stuff.
I remember that.
There's a whole chase scene because we were trying to protect somebody, I think. We're
casually firing off lightning bolts.
Oh yeah, because the 2 guys chased me into an alleyway, and so I trapped them in an alleyway, so they chased me into it. Then I just like lightning bolt straight down the line, totally just like wrecking both of them.
You're like you're acting awfully bold for someone who's in 100-foot line.
Yeah.
Oh man. So yeah, we got a little dicking around. Alcaeus picked up a magic weapon. He got Mawbreaker, which is a dragon slaying greatsword. So that was cool for him to get a weapon. Didn't quite get a god weapon, but soon.
His god weapon's at the end of the campaign.
For real, yeah. He's definitely due for one, but also it's kind of the MacGuffin of the whole plot. So it was a bit of a tough one for him.
No, that's just more motivation. It's perfect.
yeah. Gotta have all kinds of crazy adventures once he gets a hold of that.
Yeah.
So we're hanging out at the I think it was just called Data Harbor. I think it was just named after the city, or after the river rather.
Could be.
That's what it says on my chapters here. It's just Data Harbor, A Tale of Two Giants, Data Harbor. So I guess.
All right.
Take my word for it. It's been, oh boy, we're getting old. It's been 2 years. I can't remember stuff that happened this far back.
Yeah.
At least not the names, anyways. Anyways, finally, after 5 or 6 sessions, however long it's been, 7 sessions, we finally make it to the ocean. The one of the premises that was promised for this campaign was the seafaring nature. I learned a valuable lesson about if you want to make a campaign about something, start there. Don't lead up. Don't take 7 sessions to lead up to it. So I know everyone had fun and we enjoyed the adventures, but I did feel a little bad that I had promised a seafaring campaign and everyone built seafaring characters and it took us 7 sessions to get to the ocean. So oops, lesson learned for that.
All right, it is what it is. I don't think we regretted anything.
But we did get some good. Once we got there, we got some really cool seafaring stuff. So we're headed to the first stop before going to the Dakkar Isles are a little city called Thalassa, which I think you had spoken about a bit briefly earlier, right?
I don't know if I ever brought up the city specifically, but I did make reference to it. Thalassa was actually a city that I came up with because that's Darius's hometown. Thalassa, I believe, is Greek for ocean, so it just kind of worked out perfect. Which is obviously where Wizards of the Coast got the name Thassa from.
Thalassa.
So it's all connected, and so we got there. That's where I kind of met up with my mother, who kind of works as like an acolyte at the temple for Thassa. Met with little friends, ate at the Krusty Krab.
Oh yeah.
That's when Russ started. Yeah, that's when Russ started messing with his voice changer, which didn't last very long.
Yeah, it's a little bit clunky. I like doing it, but I need to find a hotkey or something that I can just do it quickly. Maybe I'll bring that back.
What's it called? And yeah, it was just kind of. I think it was pretty chill for most people. There wasn't really anything big going on there. I did at some point visit my friend's grave, and that's where I got a vision that he wasn't actually dead. He was actually on the island of Skathos, and so then, which is somewhere in the Dakkar Island. So at some point during this whole mission, I've got a brother that needs saving. So can't wait for that island to pop up randomly in the rotating sequence of islands. But yeah, and then once we did that, I think after that we kind of just this is where I got my weapon, right? There was a whole complete this puzzle, and
yeah, I think that was part of the vision. Maybe was like a flash of insight from Kyrnos.
I can't remember. I can't remember if it was him or for like a priest who told me it, or of a vision. But I went to this group of people group of elderly people who were playing like a tabletop puzzle game, and it was like I had to solve it IRL, solved it, and I was granted the Theros equivalent of Mjolnir, called Tempest, and it makes loud booms.
It's a bit like there's a magic item in D&D 5e that's called the Hammer of Thunderbolts, I believe. Thunderbolts and lightning, very, very frightening. So it was kind of I took that item and kind of chopped it up a little bit, like I was saying with the piety thing earlier. So instead of it being this legendary magic item, right out of the gate, eventually it'll work its way up to being that power level, but still very strong, very, very powerful item, even without all its abilities unlocked. Though the point where they're at, they've gotten a considerable amount of piety and have unlocked at least like first two stages of.
Yeah, I think we're all in the first two stages easily. I'm at 15 piety right now. The third one unlocks at 25, and the fourth one unlocks at 50. Don't know if I'll ever actually see 50, but I might see 25.
You better start burning down some enemy temples or doing like some big stuff.
That's it.
So yeah, I know we kind of maybe glossed over the piety a little bit, but basically there is within the source book that they released, there are various things that you can do that will earn you piety towards your god or lose you piety. We really haven't run into people losing it too much because we're very careful, and these players really are risk adverse, so they're very careful not to do the things they're not supposed to do, which is cool for like roleplay purposes too. But yeah, basically, you know, it earns you points. It's like a renown system, and they're like very like clearly defined. It's something honestly I feel like they should have for not just Theros, but it's something that I think could really work well in any setting. You could just kind of reskin Heliod to be, you know, Lathander or whatever, like whatever your setting is. It works really well as a reward system for those pious characters who take the time to say the prayer and, you know, bury the bodies and, you know, do all that extra RP legwork, so to speak. It's a nice little way to kind of reward people for doing those things.
Yep, definitely.
So we got the hammer. Now, the wide blue ocean awaits. Darker Isles, which are kind of this, like I said, mystical, constantly moving, impossible to map and difficult to traverse. Most people that sail into them never come back, and they're charging headlong into them in search of this shield, this bulwark of brotherhood. So we head in and we do a couple of little mini kind of islands. This really was a really fun opportunity for me to kind of seed in these. Just, you know, it could just be like I don't know if anyone's played like Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but I think I was playing it around this time, and that was kind of some of the inspiration for this campaign. And there could be an island that would have like literally just like one treasure chest or, you know, like one thing on it, or it could be a whole, you know, complicated island. There was such a range that you could do with islands. So we came across a few smaller islands. Do you remember any of those? I know there was a few of them.
Not really, not off the top of my head. Nope. I still remember the blue hole. That's
tadpoles. I think Jama really liked that. He found a.
I remember that. I remember that. There was like
frogs.
tadpole. There was like the frog people and the tadpole. Yep, I remember that. I remember that. Yep, I remember that now.
So some small, just kind of little.
It was peak random encounter table. Like it is peak random encounter table, and I thought that was the most fun because we roll for random encounter and we roll for weather, so it really just created this like really dynamic area, which I thought was super fun. And because you really truly never know what you're gonna get, and you can run to the same island twice because who knows?
I didn't even know. I mean, I made the table, but like, you never like, was it gonna be a storm? Is it not gonna be a storm?
Yep.
Which, speaking of storms, okay, no wait, let's talk about the blue hole, and then we'll talk about the storm. So the blue hole, for anyone who doesn't know, this is a real naturally occurring phenomenon in the real world. But they're basically like these massive, like vertical caverns that form. I'm not sure how they form. Aliens, magic, who knows? So I did it was essentially like a vertical dungeon. Most people, you know, think about a dungeon as like a top-down experience, but this was, you know, starting at the
literally
surface.
Top down.
Literally top down. Yeah, I guess that maybe wasn't the best, but yeah. So it was very different. I really feel like it had made everyone kind of have to think about everything differently. So Jesse, our wizard, he was able to give everyone water breathing. What was that?
That was data.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no. Cyrus, that's the wizard's name. Cyrus fucking was. He had just gotten a spell that let him give himself a breath weapon. That's what that was.
Yeah.
I think he might have. Maybe he might have given it to Alcaeus, but
well, I think
but
well, I think he had the breath weapon since the beginning, when he first popped in.
Okay. Well, that was
Yeah,
like the first time he busted it out.
No, he used
Badass.
it earlier. But, what's it called? It's
Super cool. I just remember it specifically from that fight for some reason.
What's it called? I think he used it the first time he showed up when we were. I can't remember what we were fighting when he first planeswalked in, but I remember him giving it to me. He gave me like a lightning breath or something. But he can choose the. I think he can choose the element. So perhaps he gave. Perhaps you're thinking of a certain element that he used in the water that was relevant at the time.
It was crazy. It was super cool. So, anyways, yeah, they fought some big nasty monster. It was some kind of chimera creature that was all fucked up. It was like a shark mixed with an octopus mixed with a. Oh yes, it was something like
else. Sharktopus. Yeah, and to be clear, when we said top down, we literally mean like we were using like the Z and X axis rather than the X and Y axis, and so it created some interesting like dynamics as you're like finding pockets to like rest in and pockets of air to rest in. Take your short rest in before you kind of continue diving down. And, we all don't have a water speed, so we don't have a swim speed. So all of us are swimming at half speed. But Alcaeus, who's a Triton, does have a swim speed, so he's just going crazy. We're attacking at disadvantage because we're underwater, but he's just like, "Nah, this is free game for me."
He was in his element, literally.
literally in his element. And I was just like, I'm gonna give you flanking and cast bless and hopefully let you deal all the damage because I'm pretty useless otherwise.
I think Data had a swim speed because he was a water.
Yeah. He probably had a swim speed.
Or Naiad. Yeah, so that was a really fun, very memorable dungeon. We all really enjoyed that. I need to do that again sometime. So once we finally finished up with that, we moved on, and we didn't even talk about the crew, the boat that y'all got.
Oh, well, I thought our crew, who's really, I think the captain was the most distinguishable person. I don't remember. I just saw his name last night, but I don't know if I can remember it.
Starts with an R.
I thought it was started with an R, but I know Rufus is in it.
It's a famous Egyptian character. King, I think.
What's it called? Oh, Ramses, right?
Ramses, yes, King.
Ramses.
So
he was a jackal basically, from Amonkhet, another magic plane, who somehow ended up on Theros and became like captain of the ship. And so he's been kind of helping us out around.
Back on Thalassa, sorry, rewinding slightly. Yeah. Your character, being a seaman, was familiar with boats and went down to the docks and was like, "We need to commission someone to take us in. We either need to get a hold of a boat, or that was another session we completely forgot. Remember the whole luxury boat that y'all were gonna steal?
It was not at all.
there was like a casino on the boat, and it was in the data harbor. It was during that section. You fought the gold elemental.
Oh, I remember the gold. Oh, I wasn't. No, Darius wasn't there for that. Darius, I think, was still being chased, and so that was when Alcaeus fought their captain, and I think he lost. Right. And so, because I think they were looking for a boat, and they fought a captain. I think they lost. I was getting chased by some Croats, and I think that's when we ended up finding Ramses. Was in that harbor.
But yeah, basically they were trying to get a hold of a boat, and it's very difficult to buy one. And Darius was pretty much the only character with any real seafaring experience, actual piloting of the boat. That is, all of them, like I said, had some relation to water. Swimming wise, I mean, Triton, he fucking lives in the water, but as far as traveling by boat, it was just kind of not in your wheelhouse. So I think that was when they decided to commission a captain and crew. That way they could just kind of focus on doing their own thing and leave the management of the boat to the NPCs, essentially. So yeah. So anyways, Ramses and the crew of Triton pirates, very cool, very fun, and gave them some opportunity to rest until one of my favorite all-time encounters, based on a very corny B movie.
Yeah, the Sharknado combat.
Go ahead, sorry.
Oh yeah, nah, man. I know I almost got blown out of the water, but yeah, it's exactly what anyone could imagine. The sharks.
Oh, you all got blown out of the water. It picked the
no,
whole
I'm
boat
sorry,
up.
blown out of the boat. I almost got blown out of the boat.
Oh yeah.
I fell unconscious, and I was trying to protect the crew, I think, and taking a lot of hits doing it, and so it resorted for a very long and difficult combat encounter because spinning sharks are a lot to keep track of.
So essentially, what happened was a giant waterspout oceanic tornado picked the boat up. It was hundreds of feet in the air. I don't remember how many feet, but way up in the air. So their boat is 100 feet in the air, spinning. Meanwhile, giant sharks are randomly flying out of this tornado and hitting the deck, where they would attempt to bite the players. So we had the regular sized giant sharks as well as the bigger CR5 beefy one, the like mega shark, who's like huge instead of large creature. So there's these sharks flying everywhere. Crew members are dying. Players are going down. Everyone's doing their best to keep healing, and somehow they managed to squeak it out. It was a very, very touch and go encounter that I was genuinely starting to think we were about to TPK at one point, but even more scary than the Cloud Giant fight. Cloud Giant fight just did a lot of damage out of nowhere with that spell, but this fight was like starting to spiral because once one person goes down, like it's
no pun intended.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So somehow they managed, through just all the heels on wheels and the power of friendship, they somehow managed to pull it out. And but when they landed, unfortunately, it fucked up their boat majorly. There was a lot of structural damage to the ship. So the captain was like, we need to pull over and patch things up. We need to stop somewhere that has some wood that we can use to try to mend this ship. So they pull up to an island, and what island did y'all stop at next?
I don't know the name of it.
The Satyr
Island,
Island,
less
I believe.
populous, but
Oh,
yeah.
I know. I'm just trying to get Kyle to talk.
Yeah, I know.
I'm talking a lot, so I'm trying to share the, you know.
What's it called? Yeah, no, I think it was Bacchanalia. I think was the chapter name. I don't know if that was the name of the island or not.
What was the name of that?
But it was a satyr lake. What's the name of the place? The satyr. Hold on, Woodstock.
Yes,
perfect. It was a satyr Woodstock. Well, there's a lot of drugs, sex, and alcohol.
And rock and roll.
The whole time, and rock and roll. Some characters I think were into it. Some of us were like, I think it was like me and Cyrus were both like, something's weird about this. It turns out, something was weird about this. I can't remember the exact details. I know we followed a couple of them into this area, a little off. Things went south. There were some explosions. There were the glyph of warding triggers. And then they retreated. I can't remember what we were looking for, though. I can't remember the motivation behind that sequence. And then I know we kind of pushed some of them further down, or maybe we pushed them down first and discovered the suspicious activity.
Well, essentially, you came to the island because Ramses was like, we need to repair the boat. And you guys were unsure if it was okay. Well, you were just exploring to see what was on the island. And then they told you that the wood was sacred because it was basically their paradise. It was their promised land from Klothys, which is the Gruul green-red planeswalker, or god, sorry, of this setting. So they were like, hey, this wood is sacred. we'd rather you not cut it down. So you guys were trying to kind of like, they were like, well, can we go talk to your like leader or something so we can like bargain with him and like try to figure out how we can come to an agreement to let us fix our boat. That was kind of the main conflict. So it turns out that the guy who was the leader was actually worshiping a false god, Xenagos, who was like a planeswalker that tried to become a god and then got killed by Elspeth, and it was a whole thing in the Magic storyline. But yeah, basically they were worshiping a god that was not actually their god, and Alcaeus was like, I'll be having none of that. And he dealt with false gods here. He dealt with them as he deals with all heretics by fucking smiting the shit out of them. Yeah, so there was
we're still in that to some degree. Where we ended last time was during some part of that conflict. So we never got back on the boat. We're still on the island. We never fixed the boat. So it happened. Whatever happened, like right before that.
Yeah. So essentially, the false leader, you killed the false leader, but they're like, "Where's the real leader? Where is the real like elder?" So you guys were trying to track him down, and that's basically where we left off. Was you were tracking that guy down, and I think you had found through some scouting that he had been captured. And was about to be sacrificed to a giant.
I remember something like that.
I think we vaguely... They had this giant guy that was chained up, and they were about to feed this poor little satyr to him. So that was where we left things hanging for almost a year. And, well, I guess 2 years now. And we shall soon return and see what's going to happen.
Are we going to pick off exactly there? We're going to pick off... well, I guess I'll just find out when I get there.
You'll find out when we get there, and our audience will find out along with you, because I already know what's going to happen. No, actually, I kind of know what's going to... I never really know what's going to happen.
I know what's supposed to happen.
The best made plans, right?
Right.
But yeah, so if that all sounds cool, or at least some of it did... Stay tuned, because this is going to be the campaign we'll be running for the next coming weeks. We will be returning to Star Wars at some point in the future, but like I said in our previous Theros miniseries, that we're just trying some new stuff out. I think at least I was feeling a little burned out on Star Wars, as I'm wearing like a Star Wars shirt, but still love the setting. I just think the campaign, I just think we all just kind of wanted to like take a little bit of a break from it, and a lot of emotional deep stuff had really happened, and I think it was just kind of a bit overwhelming, and so yeah, we just wanted to expand and put some variety on the channel. You know, there's so many different settings, so many different characters that are all so fun to play, and so we hope you'll stick with us and enjoy this new campaign, and you know, let us know what you think. If you hate it and you want Star Wars back, please tell us. If you want us to just stick with classic D&D or Theros or something else entirely, let us know that too. I mean, you know, we're making this content not just for our own enjoyment, but for the people watching it, and we want to give the people what they want. So,
absolutely, 100% agree. So just keep an eye on the channel, YouTube, Twitch, the whole 9 yards. But we have a session 0 to get to for the campaign next week. And so we will be starting the sessions earlier. The goal right now is to start them at 2 p.m. Central Time. So keep an eye out. We will definitely post this on all the socials that we can find. So just keep an eye out, get excited. And hopefully sounds like some good combat. This next session is going to have some pretty interesting combat in it. So hopefully we get to see that out. I was reviewing my character sheet, and I am not at full resources. So, you know, we haven't had a rest in a bit between some of the tracking and the chasing of the combat. So that means we're going to be in for a good time these next week, 1 week from now.
Ooh, I forgot to talk about Cyrus's spooky thing with the silver eyes. Do you remember that?
I do and don't. I definitely remember that, but I don't remember anything about it.
So I think he had to like miss a couple of sessions, so I was trying to come up with a way to
Oh,
explain
right.
that. And so basically he was like randomly falling into these comas where his eyes would turn like pure silver, and I would tell him some really spooky shit. I would write out these creepy like I don't know if the rest of the party got to, I don't remember if y'all got to hear that or if I just did it one-on-one, but anyways.
I think I can't remember. I can't remember if you told him like out of the campaign or like off weeks, or if you told him in campaign on the table.
No, but I wrote some pretty creepy stuff for it. So, anyways, yeah. So, sorry, I just remembered that because I think it might come up. So I just wanted to get that out there. So yeah, stay tuned. Kyle, any other closing thoughts?
Nope. Super excited. About to Shazam the crap out of everybody. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys here 1 week from now.
Let's save the world. But till next time, may the shorts
be with you.